Hello, my name is Victoria. Um, yeah, this is gonna be kind of a little bit of me and my son's story. So, me and my son's father were not the best couple in the world. I ended up getting pregnant in December of 2017. I had my son on August 30th of 2018. He is almost a year old at this point. His father hasn't really been in the picture, nor will he be. He was very abusive towards me and towards my son. But right now, me and my son are struggling with housing. We are struggling with, well, at least I'm struggling with mental health, with depression, anxiety, stress-induced problems. We recently lost housing. I haven't had my son in 3 weeks. He has been living with a family member. It's been very rough on me and him, as he's been with me up until he was like 10 months old. So it's been quite hard dealing with all of this, and I guess I'm turning to social media to try and have an outlet, as it's been kind of difficult on and off for me and him, more so me. He's coping pretty well with the whole change and the whole situation. I'm just kind of along with it, and finding a job is becoming very difficult, and finding housing is even more difficult because I don't have a job. And I've been trying as hard as I could and as hard as I can to try and make a stable life for me and my son. I'm hoping not for the fans. I'm not hoping for sympathy. I'm hoping for support and to find other moms like me that are struggling. Because I haven't seen any moms, teen moms, any moms dealing with the daily struggles and showing what actually goes on in a life. I've seen a lot of vloggers that show like what goes great in their lives, and I'm kind of using this as a way to show that life isn't all cupcakes and unicorns. There's a lot of knives and thorns along the way, a lot of potholes and twists and turns, and the struggle of how hard it is to go from the bottom to try and make it to somewhere sustainable. And yeah, kind of showing what it's like without a supportive network. My family hasn't really been supportive of my decision to have my son sent away to my aunt's, nor has they been supportive over me going on to medication for my depression, and anxiety and stress. I've been currently staying on and off between couches and between houses. I'm just glad my son has a stable place where he has someone to play with, he has people that care for him, he has food on his table, he has a roof over his head. He doesn't have to wonder where his next meal is going to come from. He doesn't have to wonder where he'll be able to play with somebody, where his toys are. He just knows what's going on. I kind of don't. And I'm kind of having to deal with the fact that that's gonna have to be okay for right now. I kind of hope that I help other moms out here go along with my journey, and find a supportive network and know that there are other people like you. There are other people that are struggling. And that it's not just you. It's the way this world is. It's the fact that money kind of runs everything and wealth runs everything, and that being first-time renter is kind of not a thing that landlords like, and they're gonna kind of have to just deal with the fact that people have to become first-time renters, and that people need to be able to have money, so they need to be able to be employed. I had a hard time being employed while I was pregnant. I've had a hard time since because childcare has been difficult for me and for my son, who was nursing until he was 8 months old. So it's just been difficult being a single mom, not having daycare, not knowing how to pay for daycare so that I could go to work. Excuse me. And not knowing where to turn to, who to turn to, and how to turn to them. I've had an advocate being my aunt. She has been an amazing person for this whole journey, since most of my family's been kind of out of the picture and not around. I really want to know if people want to know more about my story, my son's story. I really don't want to put my son's name out, but I will put the fact that I go by the name Tori. My real name is Victoria, but I like to be called Tori, and I've just want to share my story and make sure that people don't feel alone like I do. I feel very trapped, I feel very vulnerable, and I feel pushed to do things like go to Lund, which is a mother baby place, where they help you take care of your son or your daughter, or your children, and you live in a multi-family home. There's rules, curfew, schedule, which I don't like. I don't see it as something that I would do because I have on and off co-slept with my son, which they wouldn't allow. I take care of my son in ways that I don't think that they would agree with. I let him cry from time to time. Mothers get stressed, and that's just part of life, and dealing with postpartum, dealing with depression, anxiety, stress is not something you want to deal with in a group home, especially for me because my son has severe allergies to eggs and peanuts. So living in a group setting is not safe for him because I would have to figure out a way to make it so that the facility, excuse me again, the facility isn't using eggs or peanuts due to his allergies. And living in a family shelter is just as difficult because of the allergies. My aunt has had to change her and her 4 kids' lives and her husband's so that he can live in a safe environment. And on top of it, her daughter just went through surgery to have her wisdom teeth removed, and she had a really bad reaction to some of the medication. So she's dealing with that on top of having to deal with a toddler and a soon-to-be toddler being my son, and 3 other children, and her sick daughter and her daughter's boyfriend and her husband. She's having to balance a lot of things all at once. as I haven't been able to visit my son very often. I haven't been able to visit them very often. So I haven't been able to help out very much. So, I mean, to find housing is kind of difficult for people like me in this situation, because they're like, you're a teen mom and you're a first-time renter, and like jobs haven't been stable because I just got out of school, and I had a lot of jobs that tried to get me to work when I wasn't supposed to be working, a lot of jobs that weren't paying me like they were supposed to, and so like I'm just trying to find a stable way to take care of me, my son, and a new housing situation. But like you need to get the help you need to get, and I know it's been hard for me. I know it's hard for a lot of other people, but a lot of people don't want to put that out there because they seem vulnerable, or like they're looking for sympathy, or yeah, that kind of stuff. I'm not looking for any of that. I'm looking to show support for other teen moms and older moms too. Like, even being in your 20s, I'm soon to be 20. I had my son just as I turned 19. Within a few days, I was in labor having him. And it's just difficult, even being almost 20, to not be financially set, because in the world we live in, we aren't taught how to job search. We are not taught how to pay rent. We are not taught how to find affordable housing. We are not taught the basic living of life, how money runs our world. We are not taught how to budget. We are not taught the ways we can get around so that we can have food, so that we can have a house or a roof over our head. We are not taught these kind of things. Nor are we taught how to get help to do these kind of things. We're kind of raised in a very poorly structured world. Sorry, I'm using my phone to record this and it just vibrated and fell. But, yeah, we are not raised in a world that is meant for us. We pretty much get put into this box and said, here, go to school, learn things that are not relevant to the world. We're pretty much put into a trial run of a game that isn't the game we were intending on it being. So we are taught all of the things for this game when life is completely over here on the other side of the spectrum. So it's difficult because we're raised on video games and computers and phones and all of this, but we have very little life and family skills. And it's really hard for us to change our perspective on life, and it's really hard for us to switch, which sends depression, anxiety, stress into our lives that doesn't need to be there. I know I'm one voice, but I'm hoping to build a bigger, better network, show support for people not only in my state of Vermont, which is a very small state that most people don't know much about, other than that Bernie Sanders comes from here and Ben & Jerry's comes from here, and that we make maple syrup. That's about what people know around here. But around here, life isn't... Sorry, that's one of the dogs. But, life here in Vermont isn't that easy. It's really expensive, and most of the jobs around here don't pay very much because it's a lot of farm work. And farms don't pay very much because that's what we do. Sugaring doesn't pay much because it's once a year. Farming doesn't pay very much because you're having to put down so much extra money into buying livestock, buying produce, and all the stuff that you need to build a bigger, better place. And to pay for the land here is very expensive because it's a place that people come for tourism and to see the beautiful leaves and the snow in the winter. It's a lot of skiing and snowboarding and a lot of nature trails and stuff. It's a lot of protected land, which I love, but it's not a very sustainable place to be because we don't get paid what we're supposed to or what we should be paid, due to the fact that farms don't make much. Maple syrup doesn't make much. And skiing and snowboarding only makes money during the winter. And farming doesn't in the winter. So you're having to bounce from job to job to job to find sustainable stuff. And there's not a lot of college resource. We have St. Mike's, VTC, and a couple of community colleges, but the community colleges are quite expensive. Even for me being a Vermonter, I've been a Vermonter my whole life, and so hasn't my son, obviously. And it's just been difficult. I've debated on moving to New York, New Hampshire, Maine, Massachusetts, and it just makes it difficult because having to pick up your life, lose your family, your friends, what you've known your whole life, makes it even more difficult. And having a kid on top of it makes it just that much harder because you're having to think about their well-being and what's going to be best for them. And it's going to be best for him to move, but it's also going to be bad for him to move because of the fact that I'm having to rip up all of his family network. I'm having to rip up all of my family network, which is going to make a lot of stress on me and a lot of more problems as I'm switching back and forth between meds, dosages, everything. It just makes it that much harder. But this is my story, and you can build your own. And I mean, I want to build a network of people that show support for each other. So negative comments, feedback is not really welcome, and if I see it in my feed, I'm gonna block and get rid of them because nobody needs the negativity in their life. There's already enough of it in this world. We're already all struggling. No matter how much you're like, woo, I'm not struggling. You are in one way or another, whether it's financially, whether it's mentally, emotionally, physically. Everyone struggles with something at one point or another in their life. And that's just how it is. But this is my life and my son's life, and I hope that it helps other people in this world to know that you're not alone. And I hope to find that I'm not alone. Thanks, and I hope to hear from and know that there is support. I'm hoping to post more videos, but if I don't see likes and all that, I feel like it's not gonna do very much. So yeah, thank you, and till next time.